Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast blood.
What's up, gang? Welcome back to another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day. We're going to switch up gears a little bit today. And I got my friend and partner in the business, brand new 2024, into the main part of the organization. I'm proud to announce that I got my friend Matty D coming in. What's up, Matty?
Hey, great to be here, as always, guys.
So I thought a good thing for us to do is talk about kind of how we got here and some things of mine that stick out about you, and maybe have you talk through like where that comes from, where that mindset, started from. But two things that stand out, to me in the beginning phases of your career, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the first 12 months of being here, or 6 months in, we went to open up an office in Penn State.
Yeah.
And I shipped you down there and asked for you to go down there and open up an office with a couple of people. And then how long were you there before we opened up in Morgantown?
You know what? We had an office in Penn State. Couple people up there, and it needed some magic. And you asked me to go there. I'm like 6 months in.
Right? 6 months into the business.
Yeah, I was 6 months in. I was nervous. Went to Courtney, said, hey, here's the opportunity. And, I'm not going if you don't go, or if you want to go, I'll go. But if not, don't worry. We'll stay here and rock the deal. And she was like, let's do it. So you asked me at 6 months. We ended up moving at like 8 months in. It was a January. It was like snowing and everywhere. It was a snowstorm to move up there. And I was there for 1 year. And then we opened up Morgantown office in January 2011. I was having my first kid, Ava, and we came back, lived in Pittsburgh, and opened up Morgantown.
And so I'd spend a minute there. So when I hear of this, it's like he's in his first 6 to 8 months of the business. And I asked him to move 3 hours away. So some of you that don't know, State College is a very rural town. It's Penn State driven. It's a college town, great place, but not a ton going on, outside of the college. It's kind of like in the middle of nowhere. Matty, especially at the time, was more of a Pittsburgh, home,
city guy,
close with his family, city guy. And I asked him to go there, and the place needed a facelift. And I trusted in him based off of how he was operating. And so this is one of those things where you never know who's watching you and what opportunity is going to come up. And out of the blue, because of the position that he put himself in, because of the way that he handled things, stepped up in big moments in the beginning, I picked him. So then we hear, I hear that and I'm thinking, wow, talk about my girl, Courtney. I heard you say that you told her, well, if you don't think it's good for us and, you don't want to go, then I'll stay here. Yeah. So there's one right there that if you don't have the right spouse, if she were to say, nah, I don't want to do it, that opportunity don't happen. Who knows if the next opportunity
Me and
happens.
her were only 3 months into dating. So I was here 6 months. Me and her were only 3 months. I didn't have, years with her, but that was all kind of.
So she says, I'll get up and roll with you.
Yeah.
So they both moved to State College. I think you lived in Bellefonte.
Yeah, Bellefonte, PA. Awesome. Great city. A little bit of a culture shock for me.
Yep.
It's like mostly farmlands, middle of a cornfield.
Yep.
And yes,
so no excuses. So this is what started to just remind me that it's not the area, it's the player. It's not the area as much as it is the person. And so we have Matty and a few others were down there. Kiefer was down there at this time. Casey Kunash, right? And all of a sudden that place becomes our top satellite office, doing $50,000 plus weeks out of there.
It was doing 4,000 to 5,000, and then literally within 6-7 months was doing 45 to 50,000 out of the place.
Consistent,
maybe 8
top
months,
people winning awards, all that. So we get Morgantown, West Virginia. At the time, West Virginia, I got West Virginia because nobody else wanted West Virginia. They're like, people. I remember hearing.
It's so hard to believe that when you look back
because it's one of our best territories.
Kills it.
I mean,
and to think at some time people were like, no, I'm good.
Don't want it. And so they saw, well, people don't work down there. People don't have a strong work ethic. It ends up being the complete opposite. But I asked Matty, would he go to WVU? Now, mind you, didn't you go to Pitt? Right? So Pitt and WVU.
And I'm a Steeler fan.
Pitt, WVU, and you know, that's so he says yes, I'll do it. So now
Pitt.
we go from he moves back to Pittsburgh. Okay, we come back from State College, moves back to Pittsburgh. He's less than 2 years into the game, and now we start opening up an office in West Virginia, Morgantown, and that's about an hour and 15-minute commute every day.
Yeah, closer to hour 30.
Hour 30 every day, right? So how many days a week did you drive back and forth on average the first 10 years of Morgantown's existence?
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
We were 5 days. You know, when we opened it up, there was no wiring, there was no cable, there was no front desk person. It was just a shell of an office, and it's like, all right, from scratch. When you talk about from scratch, only thing we had a nice place, and then it was like, okay, what do you do? So I was kind of learning as I go, because State College was already built. I didn't know how to run wiring and put a front desk and everywhere like that, let alone the process of hiring talent into the place. But we had the leads and we had the people to see. And
went there.
Yeah.
Exploded.
Yeah.
I remember $100,000 weeks out of there, $200,000 weeks in a small 1,500 square feet in Cheat Lake, office. I remember, the numbers that place would do. And so then, when I look at all that lead up, to it, another thing that stands out to me is there's moments in time where you've never been a hater for your brothers around us in business, because this is a challenge for people. And this is something that I've admired about you, and I call myself lucky to have had the people, around me, such as, yourself, Tommy, Justin, Matty, people at the top, Brody, where, you got, let's look, if you have a vision, a picture this, we got, 3 people that I end up starting to run things through, the organization, because there's only so much that I can handle. So, I'll shoot off to these top 3 people, 4 people, and they go out and they try to carry that message down with help from me. But it's like, these are my captains. These are the go-to people I'm turning to. And so what I would have to do is I'm put in a position that there's times where I have these 3 looking at each other's numbers and they're competing. And I'll even say, hey, this one's kicking your butt this month, or when you going to catch up to this one, or comments that'll make people compete to get them going. And I think the blessing was always that you guys always found a way to get along. And I watch a lot of people not be able to do that in this business, out of this business. Their top people can't have a competitive environment and still get along. And none of you were really compensated based off of the other one, but always had this relationship that no matter what, if we compete, whatever, I can always bring you to the table and never feel like there was negative energy or you talking bad about this one behind their back, or this one talking bad about you behind your back. Where does that come from? Like, what would go through your head? It's like, I want to win. I'm a competitor, because you're a freaking competitor, but to not hate on them.
I don't know that you can be great in business without being competitive. And to think, my competitive was just always competitive with myself, and like, hey, performing at your best, getting the best out of you and the people that are around you. That's kind of like the bar that I set with myself. So anytime that's load, I'm already competing with myself mentally. It was never with other people, but I think to each their own, because some people play their best when you put them up against somebody else. That is their competitive, and it fuels them. So absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's why we have sports and whatnot. And me personally, I've always, I'm a big law of attraction guy, and I'm a big what you see in others is what you see in yourself guy. So I would to me, whenever to hate on something is going to attract that into my life, I feel like. And I look at others, the people that I compete with, and I just see myself too, like great person, earned where they have. So there would never be any type of hating there, nothing but respect. Personality-wise, are you going to care for everybody and love everybody like friends that you? No, but from a sheer hating standpoint, you're going to just attract that. I'm going to attract that back into my life. So I'm just put out all optimism, positive, see the best in people, and at the same time play to my full potential.
What I'm
if
talking
that wins,
about,
it wins.
Because you've coached a lot of people.
Yeah.
So you have people that they're on the come up and they want to win so bad, and all of a sudden, instead of worrying about what they're doing, they're saying, well, this one's the only reason why she's winning is because of this, or this one you didn't see, he's lazy. You know what I mean? He don't show up, but me, they like build themselves up, tear the other person down to you, and I never saw that. With you guys.
And part of what you got to look at sometimes if someone behaves that, why would they behave like that? Maybe they're not getting enough credit or recognition. So I feel like from a come up standpoint, I was never lacking in credit recognition where I felt like, hey, nobody's looking at me, like, you know, like they're not doing it, like that kind of behavior. So there was a solid setup from that. And yeah, a lot of times, you know, it's young, emotional. Sometimes maybe that comes in and kicks in. But no, I never was wired like that. It was always just like, okay, how do I get the best out of myself? That's where I compete.
I think, you know, another one of those, you know, that stands out to me is loyalty. I feel like you've shown a lot of loyalty, and you know, we describe saying, man, when you start to talk about loyalty really is shown when you disagree or when there's challenges. And, you know, I would look at moments where, you know, in business, there's times where you got to give up something or you got to sacrifice something or help make a decision and be cool with something that maybe you don't love, or maybe it's not in your 100% best interest, but you understand how it's better for the organization or better for the group or to help others. And multiple times I watched you be able to handle those scenarios and still show loyalty, even to a point where I remember, you know, and this is somebody that is close, as close with his family, his mom, his dad, as anybody else, you know, super close. I think on a weekly basis, you know, I feel like you guys are always doing something as a family, not only your immediate, you know, in your house family, you and your kids, but your dad, your mom, you know, Courtney's family, you're a family person. And I remember, you know, having a moment where I was thinking about taking an opportunity that was offered to me within now Globe Life. Right. So I won't even get into detail what the opportunity was. You remember what that opportunity was.
Remember the date.
I was getting ready to think about going. One of the things that I talked to them about is if I come, I want to be able to bring a person or two with me that knows our playbook and can come with us. And I remember pulling you outside and telling you I think that I was going to do it and ask, would you come, you know, with me? And I remember you getting a little emotional. Like I saw like, no tears come down, but tears in your eyes, you know, of like, man, I trust that if you think this is in, you know, best interest, I'm down to ride with you. And he was willing to move to Texas and leave his mom, his dad, his family that means so much to him behind on let's go do this. And even though I didn't end up taking advantage of that opportunity, it always stuck out, you know, to me in the back of my mind of not only have you showed other moments, that moment also of I'm ready to get up and roll if we have to, but also loyalty in moments where maybe, you know, this business is big. You have to do something. You promote somebody. We make a play call where it's better for this agent, but it's not better for you. And you've always been kind of supportive of that. And we come back to the table and I never feel like there's a lack of loyalty. Where does that come from? What goes through your mindset?
You know, karma, I think, is big in any way. So I think if you make the right decisions, there's life karma, business karma. Same thing. Like, oh, this person did this person. I'm like, easy. Karma will take care of that. I'll give it time. It will just, and it always does. I look back like, hey, you remember what you said? Where are they now? The karma always, business and life karma. So I think just putting the right stuff out, doing the right thing, you know the difference between right and wrong, doing the right thing. And then, you know, you look at making decisions for yourself or whatever, like, you know, this is a family. So to me, we're all brothers, sisters, and whatnot. So you look at the decisions you have to make in your own family that maybe the kids get more, or your wife or the husband or the dad might have to sacrifice sometimes to make sure the family's good. And you look at the same thing in business. Like, you look at all of it and say, all right, what do we got to do? What decisions do we got to make sure everybody's good in this family, you know, from any type of parent standpoint. So that's part of it. I think of it just like I would when I'm making decisions with my kids or my wife, and what's best for everybody. And at the same time, you always got to be in a good position yourself to help everybody out.
Speaking of family, I know you're like me. You know, you get with your family and you fight sometimes. You know, you argue and then you make up the next day. You know what I mean? And one thing that I admire, you know, about you is your ability to, you know, people may think because you're a nice guy, you know, there's these hoodies out that I was, you know, I don't have one, but I think I might get one, you know, about for Christians, and it says saved, not soft. Right. And I think so people can look at you or talk to you and think, man, he's such a nice guy. You are such a nice guy. But I've also watched you be able to, in in settings like you're not a pushover, you're not a rollover. You have that perfect balance of you're a nice guy, but I also feel like, you know, this is extreme on the GRINDcast, but you know, I feel like if I'm getting jumped at the bar, I think you jump in. You know what I mean? Not so nice. He's running out the back door. But where that comes into play in business is I think behind closed doors, you know, people may think, oh, Matty's such a nice guy, and he got this because he goes along with what you say.
Yeah.
I think, you know, me and you have had a lot of debates, heated debates, and things where you don't agree 100% with a play call or something that I'm doing, or you have questions on something, but you've always been able to somehow handle the being opinionated, having an opinion, not crossing the line of being disrespectful. And when we break the huddle at the end of it, you know, half the time, you know, those things, I end up going your way with something that you were passionate about. Maybe not all the time did it go the way that you wanted it to go. We're able to use that skill set of, you could get in a blowout with your family, you know, on a Monday, and we love each other on a Tuesday. How does that, you know, play out? What advice would you give to others?
So much. One, you know, to answer your question, I think it's timing and delivery's got to be right on everything you do. As I got older, my timing and delivery probably got better. Less things bothered me as much. So there's certain things you're really passionate about and you have conviction on, and certain things you're not. And you got to, you know, not learn to not battle every single thing and just the ones you care about. And at the end of the day, you look at what do I truly believe in my heart is right, and then that's what I'll bring out of me to get whatever result that I want. So do you want to get mean? No. Do you want to yell? No. Do you want to get in an altercation? No. Do you want to have disagreements? No. But I'm a bottom line guy. I'm a results guy. So whatever you need to be to get that acquired result is what I'll be. And you know, am I the most disciplined person in the world? No. Strongest work ethic in the world? No. Do I think I got a great one? Yes. But whatever the time acquires to get whatever I want, that's what I have to be. And so sometimes it's majority, I would love to be just nice all the time, but if it has to be that, then that's what you got to pull out to get the result.
Yeah, I think that went a long way for me when you're looking at, like, this is hard. You know, people ask, like, why? You know, Matty, why? You know, this, because, you know, we're going to grow this thing. There's going to be a lot of other people that me and you bring in that have to play a major role that they may not even know, you know, that is coming. But one of the things in my process of going through it mentally and explaining, other than production, other than consistent results over the years, these intangibles of, man, if you're going to be married to somebody, you know, that's what people who have partnerships have explained to me why it's so difficult to have, is because it's like marriage, and marriage is difficult. And so they said, man, you got to understand what you're getting into. And I'm like, man, I know in marriage they're going to have disagreements. And so over the years, I found that I have somebody that will tell me what they truly feel. We can debate, we can have disagreements, and the next day we're back on track in the brotherhood. Whether I like it or don't like it, you like it, don't like it, we've been able to come back together multiple times over the years, and that said a lot, you know, a lot to me. Speaking of which, you know, you've had a lot of support from Courtney. We mentioned, you know, your wife, that moved to State College, that supported you 5 days a week, pregnant with kids, driving 5 days a week. I got to stress to you, hour and a half there, hour and a half back, 3 hours, early mornings, late nights, all that stuff. What would you say, how important is it, do you think, for somebody to have the right person in their corner?
Yeah, I feel like spoiled, like a kid that grew up in a good environment. You don't know any different, you know? So like, it's like, you know, obviously you date it, but I got to thank God I landed Courtney. And you'd like to think you're a good judge of character when you're picking your partner for life, right? You know, whether it's partner for business, you know, you analyze certain things and behaviors and whatnot. It's not a jump into. And same thing with your partner in life. And Courtney just, she checks all the boxes and has always just been there, cool, can always talk to her, never hate it, same way, you know, like, you know, if I was going home and she was hating on someone, you know, it'd probably been harder than that. But Courtney's always been, you know, well, this person or that, and you don't get that with her. So it's always been easy for me. And, you know, you talk about lucky when you count your blessings and gratitude. It's like, oh, she's been in like an angel. I needed an angel. You know, I got them all all over me. I needed them in life because, she helped settle me down, especially for that age range.
And you've seen others that you've coached not have that support.
That's hard.
What can happen to somebody.
It's really hard. Yeah. I mean, it's almost could be a death in the business if you don't have that support and you're trying to live two different lives and battle two lives. What's really hard too is like, let's say you marry someone, that you've been negative, so to speak, and that's the relationship you have. Then you come into business and you're trying to better yourself and you're becoming this different version. You're watching different YouTubes and attending different meetings and you're around this whole different ballgame where you feel yourself getting better, but the home isn't. And that's the same. That is what people go through on a day-to-day basis. And you can't change anybody. You just try to, live in and hopefully you rub off and pull them up. And when it doesn't, that's a hard decision to make. And you see it a lot in business. So you just try to coach it as much as you can and offer support. And you know what the result is and you know what you need to be. It's like, but not every case is the same. Every case is a little different.
Right.
That's where a hard decision comes.
What advice do you give the young people that you coach or, people that are like not married yet, but they're kind of dating on, do you ever have anybody ask you questions about this person supports or this one don't support? What should I do in this relationship? You ever get there or no?
I wish I got it more proactive. A lot of times when I get the questions, it's reactive of what's going on in the problem that they're having and whatnot. I just make sure to, when I meet spouses, just love on them, get to know them, thank them, try to keep an open relationship. Just like, if my daughter or kid were dating someone, I want them to come to me and talk to me and ask me and, without me prying or asking. And it's like, all right, I want to ultimately have a good relationship with whoever they date. So it's like, anybody that's married in our business, just let them know I'm there for them. And like, I'm here, feel open coming to me if you're having anything at the home life. Cause as much as you'd want to keep them separate, they do spill into business.
No doubt.
As business is going to probably spill over in your home life, whether you had great days, rough days, and your home life. If some things are rough, it's going to probably affect your attitude. And being at your peak in the business.
Speaking of affecting your attitude and home life, personal life, business life, all that, one of the things I also think you're good at is being able to handle pressure.
Thank you for all these good ats, man. Yeah. I feel like I should reciprocate.
The title could be "What's Great About Matty."
Maybe that's our podcast. What's great about Matty D?
What's great about Matty? I think handling pressure and adversity and being able to stay even keel emotionally. I've watched you be able to be calm under pressure in environments that have a little pressure or things aren't going great for something, personal, professional, whatever, and still be able to show up. What tips do you have for people? How do you do that?
Well,
other than natural
first tip is I wouldn't want somebody to go through it, but I've been in situations in my life where I'm like now these situations, they're like
small.
Yeah, they're small, And so it's like, to me, some of these are small. You got big ones as well, so it's easy to stay calm. Like, and then two, I feel like I'm an eternal optimist by nature. I'm just like, bring me the most chaotic crisis. I'm like, we're good. Here's where because the solution oriented, all I see is the solution, and I'm confident in, all right, we're going to do whatever we take to make this situation good. And that's where it really comes from. My brain's probably been trained like that. Because what's the opposite? What are you going to do? I'm what I said. I'm a bottom line. I'm a results guy. What is the opposite to that? And why would I get all frantic and worked up and angry and yell and think about the problem? It's like, who wants to go there? Get your blood pressure up. Get sick. Wear yourself physically sick. It's just like, I could go that route. That doesn't seem exciting or appealing to anybody. Get physically sick. Get upset. Fight with everybody. Get chaotic crisis, or hey, we're going to be good. What needs to be done? I think more people
veer that way, though. They veer towards focusing on the problem, getting down if they feel down.
Why?
Giving it energy.
Why though? Maybe train.
I ask you why.
I don't know. I feel like it's such a better, more obvious answer. It's like to go this route.
Yep.
And it could be that your natural feelings and emotions, that is probably natural for your brain to go that route.
Definitely.
If I could come up with
it's
an
way
answer.
More natural.
Because it's a problem. The brain sees the problem, wants the problem, and now your emotions are following your thought process. So it's like you probably need to actually train it and wire it to get that. And that's way healthier.
How do you wire it? How do you rewire it?
Practice. You know, let's say something bothers you for 2 hours. You're one of those. It stews in it. Maybe you get that down to 30 minutes and then start coming up with a solution and whatnot. You just start training yourself more towards that. And at the end of the day, I mean, man, unless it's a major crisis problem, talking about losing someone, physical illness, you know, like, man, I take steps back and I'm like, yo, if this is my biggest problem right now on my plan, I start laughing. Like when I find myself like 4 or 5 minutes, 7 minutes into one of those tangents, I'm driving, gritting my teeth, almost getting mad. There's like this other side. It's like, this is your biggest issue right now. And then I start almost laughing. Like, all right, good. We good. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Could be this, or this. We're good.
Yes.
This is what we got to do.
Could be worse. Look at the
of course.
how bad it is. Keep it in perspective. I think, you know, when I look back on we talk about going to State College, going to Morgantown 5 days a week. This is when we were in the field, on the phone, stuff like that. Making that trip, you had young kids.
Yeah.
Right? For a lot of that was young kids. These are things people don't see now the last, you know, few years. You work from home a lot. There's a couple days a week you go to Morgantown still, but we work from home. We work virtually a lot, which is a plus in our business. People can work from anywhere, you know, comfort of their own home, any state, any, you know, situation. Such a blessing we didn't have, you know, coming up. And so when I look at that, I also look at the fruits of your labor. You know, I look at not only the things, you know, that you're able to do, like you're going to London, one of the, you have planned for your family.
Taylor Swift.
London,
Scotland,
Taylor
Ireland.
Swift was in Pittsburgh. His daughter wanted to go to Taylor Swift. There was no tickets last second.
Wembley Stadium.
So he said, what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to take you out of the country. We're going to go to London, and the family's going to London and takes days. I remember during COVID hit. People were down. People were depressed. I remember you said, hey, you mind? I think I'm going to roll to Florida for 3 months or 6 months. I'm going to get a house in Florida. My family, instead of just sitting here, we're going to just spend it in the nice weather. And so there's been things that you've been able to do. I think, you know, I'm careful around this subject because this is the one where he gets angry and aggressive. Remember how I said he can balance it out? He gets all upset. Very defensive over the game of golf.
So funny.
So I want to just on air say that this was brought by Josh Lagerman. We were going over a couple things, and he said, you know how he gets a chance to balance. He golfs a lot. You know, I said, well, I'm going to just pawn that off on you.
Yeah. Like
so
jiu-jitsu.
You know that ain't
like
on
you
me.
do jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Yeah.
So
jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
So
hobby.
So he said, nah, you know, now he's able to balance things. So why don't you talk about, like, how have you found the ability, you know, what things have come back to you from your sacrifices, and how do you find that rhythm, that balance that people are always, you know, looking for to keep it going on with your family, your wife, work, all that stuff?
I think when you start any business, there's going to be a different level of building your business. Like, you know, so it was 7 a.m. we were in the field too. Like we were white knuckling in the field of snowstorms, getting home at 11 p.m. So, you know, you're talking 100 hours a week. It was just different times in our industry and that. So I think if anybody's starting off a business, you don't really have that luxury of balance or whatever. You know, you just don't. You can't be laid back and build the business. It requires a certain amount of force, energy, and whatnot.
Up front, right?
Yeah. And then, you know, you're grinding towards something, or else what are you doing it for, right? You know, you're grinding, you get a business built, but at the same time, you know, for your business to sustain and keep growing, especially in any industry, there takes a level of zoned in and focus that you got to be. So I think, again, you know, at that time, my first couple of years to now, it's just you analyze where you're at, where you need to get to, and then say, okay, I'm a results guy. I'm a bottom line guy. What do I need to be? What hours do I need to give? Where do I need to be to get to where this is? At that time, it was a little different setup. Now it's a different setup. So no matter what, if you find one balance out of life, and that's same with your business life, your results and bottom line, your personal life. If my personal life was out of whack because of it, to the point where maybe I was going to lose something, then I'm a bottom line results guy. What do I have to be to make sure that situation is better and good? And I feel like that's what I would adjust to and pivot to, right? And that's what helps with the sport from home, because she let me just rock, right? Yeah. You know, I didn't have to kind of call the timeout and say, hey, what do I got to be to repair this? So, you know, that's at the end of the day, it's like, all right, what are you chasing? What is your happiness? What is your overall? Maybe my happiness would be to golf 24/7, but what would that do to my financial life and my business life? Maybe my happiness is to work 24/7, but what would that do to my overall happiness and my family life, in my own me time fulfillment? You know, so it's like the balance is, everybody's different. Their balance is different, and the people around them's balance is different. So you can't give a cookie cutter answer there. It's almost like, what does your balance need to be to keep all your balls in the air juggled and make sure you're prospering at all with the people you have in your life? You know?
Love it. Beautiful. Different question. I know what you were, and people don't know what you were doing before this, which I joke about.
Counselor.
He was counseling kids, right? Bad kids, in juvenile,
troubled,
right?
Yeah,
troubled kids,
bad kids, babies.
I was one of them.
Baby kids.
So I joke and I say, well, before this he was counseling troubled youth, troubled kids, and so now it's basically same thing, just a little bit higher, higher
troubled
paid.
adults, right?
So the question is, what would you be doing if it wasn't this?
Well,
what do you think you would have been doing? Or
well,
no,
you know, different now compared to at 22. You know, at that time I wanted to teach, maybe at a college level. I always wanted to work with people.
Diulus?
Professor D. Yeah, I always wanted to work with people, whatever industry, and I'd be working with people and talking to people, helping people, teaching people. You know, as you get older now, you know, used to business ownership, something like that, or you know. But I would either probably end up in an investment, something teaching, college level, and probably would have ventured towards a business owner. I just needed someone to teach me. At 22, you don't know. Like, you're just like, here's your major, go do it. But you're not open up to multiple levels of entrepreneurs and whatnot that could teach you. So that, I mean, that comes with time. That answer at 22 is different than 41. You know.
Right. Speaking of that, you know, you got 15 years.
15. Yeah, next
15
month,
years in leadership in this industry. I'd like to just close out on a couple things. You know, what surprises you or has surprised you about this business? And then also I'd like to, these are kind of like opposite things, so I guess they're two separate questions, but what surprises you in this business, or what has surprised you about the business that you maybe didn't understand or didn't think? And then I would like to ask for your, like, the people that you've coached, and you've coached some great people all the way up until today. What would you say are some of the traits of the people that have the most success? So first, any surprises?
Yeah, it's tough. Surprises is you can't, I couldn't really pick who was going to be the breakout star. I just couldn't pick over the years. You know, you have some gut feelings.
It ends up being sometimes people you don't think it's going to be.
If you know them for years, different story coming in. You already know their traits, characteristics. But some people, you know, a lineup of 5, and like, I remember customers be like, I'm not buying anything. And I'm like, all right, let's roll, you know, to the trainer. They would buy. So it's like, you can't predict a human behavior. I remember being brand new, like, this person's going to skyrocket, and we're out with the first sign of adversity. Whereas, like, if you put them in a room, this quiet one over here, 2 years later, I'm like, they're the top seed in the draft if I'm picking. So, you know, I mean, you just don't know what somebody's want is, desire is, hunger, life experience, wired. You don't know. So that's always surprising to me still.
Who does well and who don't, that you would never be able to pick.
Yeah.
Agreed.
You know, your typical attributes, sometimes coachability, and for me, the coachability, I don't really see till over time, right? But they all have that, right, to a level. I do think that everybody that I've seen really do well in business, in any business, has a high level of social skills, some sort of social awareness. They're able to communicate properly, you know, whether that's with a team, whether that's with a client, whether that's with an upline. They're able to handle that properly and respectfully. And, you know, work ethic. I've met a lot of people that are great at communication that don't have the work ethic. So I was like, all right, well, what are we going to do? Those are both pretty important traits. You got this killer work ethic, but you suck with people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you leave every conversation with that person like, can't stand them. You know, so, I mean, I those two traits probably go hand in hand. And if
work
you get
ethic and social skills,
give me both of those, And I feel like a lot of the other stuff that I can train, hopefully they're wired with loyalty, right? Hopefully they don't have that. They just bounce around to everyone, because you'll have that. A lot of, they're tough because they get results, because they have a work ethic, but they have no loyalty. They'll bounce around. They'll like to win. They'll go here and here. So that's tough, but you feel like you can kind of wrangle that in. Maybe they have the work ethic and the social skills, but they're all over the place emotionally. And that's something that you're going to work on, developed over the next couple of years. But you give me someone right off the rip that's ready to grind, got a work ethic, and they're good with people.
We can develop the rest.
I feel like all the other stuff, the emotional intelligence.
What areas would you say we need to develop? You know, like you're like, well, you give me those two things, and these are some other areas that we need to develop. What are areas that you've developed in people you feel like if they bring you work ethic, coachability,
everything,
they can communicate? What other areas have you felt like it's
emotional intelligence? Definitely. You know, you think about yourself, your emotional intelligence is 22. You know, I know people that are in their 60s that are still battling that maybe never had a coach or just never changed that. They're just used to what they're used to, and that's how they respond to things. So emotional intelligence, and why that's important is because if you're emotionally high one day and you're emotionally low the next day, your results are going to follow that. You know, so your results in life are going to
follow your emotions.
Yeah, because your emotion and your behaviors are unstable, so your results will be. So you know, that's one we get to. Finances, I feel like you try to help someone out with, the healthier they are financially, better personally development. You know, if they're working out, eating healthy, I feel like that helps somebody overall in their business life and their confidence and whatnot. So optimism, you might have someone that has a great work ethic and they're good with people, but they're naturally wired pessimists. So training them to like solution oriented. And this stuff takes times and years, and this is what you deal with when you're, you know, in a business role or coaching role. And it's not just coaching role. That's anybody that you oversee. Your job is to add value and make an impact on them.
Yeah.
So as long as I got those two traits, I feel like any of the other stuff, the blow ups, all that, we can handle that. The bad spendings, we can come up with a game plan if someone's open to that.
Takes patience. And, you know, I feel like us, you know, in leadership, you got to take care of yourself in order to pour into them, right? So if you're not developed in those areas,
100%.
not that we're perfect,
Boom.
but if you're not developed in those areas,
Right.
it's going to be hard to. I heard my pastor recently say that whenever you're in leadership of anything, whether it's your home life of your family or a business or whatever it is, you become the lid for those people. You're the lid. So how high do you want that lid to be? Yes. And that all determines on how much you're willing to pour into yourself and evolve. So think we're going to wrap up there. Just want to thank you, Matty, for taking time out to be on the GRINDcast, and thank you for a decade and a half. And I'm excited for the next 15 years. We're about to run the score up together. I'm excited. And as always, thank you to everybody out there investing time with us on the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day.